Hello, 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 everyone. We have excellent news from Tommy Jones, who said, "My family and I will be baptized in a Serbian Orthodox church this Sunday. I think I'm an honorary Serbian." At first, I have to say, on to many years, mnogo je ljeta, poleti, and all that good stuff, because that is wonderful news. I think that makes you the fourth person in my direct circle to announce the baptism. First, it was Athanasius. We have Garrett Down. We have in Ireland we have Bose. I can't even think of his name as Buzz. I have to think of his name as Bose. Baron Strawberry. Oh goodness, but that is wonderful news. Actually, that would make you the third of the four that would be baptized in a Serbian church. Although I'm not sure about Bose. Yes, Bose Reka. Yes, wonderful, wonderful. I love this type of news. And since I'm so bloody tired, this will be about a 2-hour stream. I can't do more. But this week we've been doing a lot of work around the new windows and doors that we were replacing. But on the inside, we've been and it's so annoying. And again, it's a mess in the house. It's much better now, but for this is the fourth day that has been utterly detestable. The state, the absolute state. So it's sort of I don't know. I'm the type of person who is very influenced psychologically when everything is a mess. It makes me depressed. Making raki in my garage while suffering depression, I come to a bar stream. Based Albanian. Well, that's one way to deal with it. One thing to avoid while doing what you're doing, based Albanian, is don't drink the first couple of liters that comes out. We had an incident where someone basically poured the methanol. For those of you who don't know, as you're going through the distilling process, first you get methanol, and that's the part you throw out, or if you have any use for it, use it in some other way. But then you get the ethanol, and that's the part you want. And then someone tried to go cheap on it and didn't throw out the methanol, and then lots of methanol poisoning around. So, yeah. But much like with firearms in the United States, there's no way to ban the making of rakia in Serbia, and I'm going to guess in the surrounding lands as well. I specifically drink only the first few drops. Excellent. So, yes, as Baron Strawberry has used his leprechaun powers to predict what I'm going to be mentioning, it is, but it's not going to be the focus of the stream. It's going to be an exemplar of that woman, Pearl, who has annoyed me greatly. Again, it's not difficult to annoy me. It's difficult to annoy me greatly. Fake rakia makes stream go lag. That's some Bulgarian support. Posh, it's nice to see you again. We recently received confirmation from our bishop that on our baptism day, we will also be doing a crowning ceremony. Well, wonderful. Again, praise God. Praise God for guiding us away from sin. See, objectively subjective. The good news keeps coming. And again, very good to hear this on hear this today, because, as I said, I'm just tired. I'm dirty because we had an incident 2 days ago where my pellet furnace, some pellet got stuck in the that receiving end, the hopper, whatever it is, and caught on fire. So it melted the tube, whatever it is, that's supposed to bring the pellet from the tank to the furnace, to the burner. And it's supposed to arrive tomorrow, but I had to go back to burning scrap wood, even though I've got plenty of wood pellets, for a couple of days. So I've been feasting on a lot of smoke. I've eaten like a metric ton of smoke, for God's sake. It's ridiculous. So there you go. I even use very good news to be curmudgeon-y. But first thing to mention, I suppose it's the first and second thing. Oh, right, we've got the super chat function. I've not yet set up the what are they called? Memberships. And as I said last time, the first like 400 euros or so are going to a piano, and we're going to be adding that to the stream. So if you'd like to contribute to the piano fund, I'd be very, very grateful. Based Albanian says, I'm cleaning my copper distill and inhaling a metric ton of vinegar vapor. Wonderful. I know what it's like to have to inhale all types of fumes. Made by Jim Bob show says, do you have enough dehydrated weasel cartilage for winter? Dehydrated. When you say dehydrated, it can make it sound fancy because you have those dehydration machines, so you don't want to lose any of the vitamins and things like that, so you don't use an oven, you use a dehydrating machine, and those people can kindly sod off. Can you ever really have enough, Jim Bob? Yep, you get a you get a couple of drinks and you can't stop with the dehydrated weasel cartilage. It sounds like the scene from Monty Python where in the Colosseum they're selling not the Colosseum, but when they say wolf nipples, ears of weasel ears, and things like that. Podge, can you sing Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You? Actually, I don't know that song, and I take great pleasure in not knowing that song. I couldn't recognize it if I heard it, because it's not popular here. But every year, for a couple of years at least, we get to this point and everyone complains about Mariah Carey. So the answer is no, Laurel Wood. Jim Bob says, do you have any other forms to donate so YouTube doesn't take it, or not yet? Not yet, Jim Bob, not yet. So I understand people who want to wait for that, but I will make it known to people once that is established. Hello, Taliesin. I still don't know how to pronounce it. What? Hello, Isabel. Okay, people are chatting with each other, which is excellent. I'd like to start by mentioning the last stream I did was a couple of hours before the glorious Andrew Wilson, Matt Dillahunty debate, which was just one of the best things that ever happened. So Andrew makes Dillahunty rage quit. And then today I did see most of the stream when he was on the whatever podcast with those women, and he made I think just 2 of them rage quit. So I'd like to thank Andrew for giving me, extraordinarily great entertainment. Oh goodness! Made by Jim Bob sends in $100. Thank you, made by Jim Bob. I don't know what to say when it's these amounts are in question. I promise to give you special treatment if you want certain songs played once it is bought. So thank you so much. Set up a donor chat and I'll send over 100 USD so you can buy the premium Weasel cartilage. Thank you, based Albanian. I'm waiting to get back from hear back from Andrew on that front. So again, I'll let you guys know it will happen. But you see, the man, as I was thanking him for the fun, there's nothing to basically do except make fun of Dillahunty's performance. He is a big child. Andrew is basically the opposite of me when it comes to personality, and even in the way he talks. And so while I was trying to be cordial, and saw nothing but contempt, received nothing but contentment from Dillahunty, Andrew going the exact other direction got him to rage quit. So that was funny. But Jason Scholl sends in 5 USD and says, "Good day, sir. Good day to you." Jason Scholl. Whoops. It's good to see you and everyone again. It is good to be back. I missed, as I said, because of the work we've been doing, and missed the one on Tuesday. But so I will do one on Saturday unless something happens, like someone else already takes the slot. I will be reviewing the debate that I believe preceded Andrew's debate on MDD, which was Aaron Ra and David Wood, because David Wood, I really like the guy. He's very funny. He's very very not inquisitive, but insightful. That's what I wanted to say. I watch his content pretty regularly, and I think that he was making the right arguments also, but I think he wasn't pressing enough, and I think he gave Aaron Ra too much of a wide berth, and that wasn't a good thing tactically. But on the other hand, there are simply people, like with Dillahunty, like with Aaron Ra, like people like Richard Dawkins, who literally said there is no way to prove to him that there is a God, because he said, even if in the stars it was written, Richard Dawkins, believe in me, he said he would attribute that to aliens or going mad. So that he admits to having an unfalsifiable position. So we will be commenting on that. Isabel sends in, just gonna let me try and do a Norwegian accent. Just gonna pretend that I also gave a huge super chat to the piano fan. That didn't turn out Norwegian at all, but I didn't want to do the the Swedish one. Just gonna pretend I also gave a huge super chat. Thank you for the 100 Norwegian crowns. So you see, we know our currencies on this channel, unless you get too creative, in which case I will not know them. Chase says, well, if it isn't my nemesis Sava. One of those girls on the whatever podcast, Savannah, I think her name was, it goes by Sava, and it felt incredibly weird to me. Yes, I am here, Chase Hagar, as you are known. Posh, you're a scholar and gentleman, you pronounced my last name correctly. Yes, Scholl. I know my German well. David performed terribly. He missed so many easy shots. Yes, which is what I was saying. Similar to me with Dillahunty, he didn't press enough, but all his points were good. It was a rhetorical misstep, which is the problem with these people, because I'll talk about that on Saturday. Mohammed's Boom Boom Room is amazing content. Yes, bit crass for my taste, but I'm not complaining too much. It may be due to a completely different reason. I'm pretty sure Jim Bob had the same intermittent camera freeze issue. It should be fixable. My personal opinion is because I haven't bought premium StreamYard, to be honest. But I hope to resolve that in the near future as we get this properly going. Shoal Sheol flat earth proof. David seems like a nice guy. He is literally a psychopath, though, diagnosed. But yes, I've never seen him, formidable as far as rhetoric goes and making a mockery out of something. But if you see him, interact with people like Apostate Prophet, what's his name? Ridwan. You see he's genuinely a nice guy, and he's got a great sense of humor. Mr. Sava, is it true you are tied to the Savaho tribe? Oh, that's a nice one. He's one of the nice psychopaths. Yes. Christian debater psychopath. Yes, David Wood is. He had a whole interesting video about his story. The ending took a violent turn. I did watch that video, to be honest. I know it's a very popular video of his story of how he converted, how he accepted. He went to prison as well, right? I think it's for attempted murder of his father. Well, not a good family story from his side, but again, he's literally a psychopath, so he took it rather well. Back to our topic. Yes, Andrew on the whatever podcast. First of all, the only L he took there was that he shaved. Why he shaved is a mystery to me. But that I have to be completely impartial when critiquing or praising. But that woman with the multicolored hair and all types of piercings, she's got a small steel mill's worth of metal in her, and talks like someone whose morning routine is having a stroke. There are a couple of ways men talk and a couple of ways women talk that absolutely drive me insane, and that is one of the ways that women talk that absolutely drives me batty. Is it true that you were hired to voice Christopher Lee in the new animated Teletubbies Go to Mordor movie? I wish. I'd ask for, 2 pianos as payment for that. He shaved because he had a beard. Can you shave without having a beard? Just go through the motions? Does that count as shaving? This is the deep philosophical insight you're here for. That woman basically almost admitted to getting into her profession via force. Lord have mercy. As I haven't finished the podcast yet, I remember hearing her say she is oppressed because people told her she could make money. unless she was coerced, to make money for whoever was coercing her, which was not what I thought, what I got from hearing it. But again, I don't know. I can't imagine being there. I just start insulting everyone because my humanity would peel away in about half an hour. Sorry. The dry throat was strong in that room. Yes, what do they call it? Voice fry. Rubbish. She speaks like a heroin addict. I actually don't know how heroin addicts speak, but I take your word for it, Randy. That was all fentanyl she was taking. Perhaps, perhaps not. I don't know why it's so in right now to just sound again like you've had strokes. Why would you want to emulate that? Is it possible that God intervened and protected those girls from Andrew? I don't know. It's possible, but maybe it was God testing Andrew. And here we use the word God testing in its proper context. It's an act of purification, going through trials. That's what testing is, and maybe, as I commented on one of Rachel's tweets, she is the one who's racking up all the W's from Andrew going around the United States. James made him miss her cooking. These women made him appreciate just talking to her. She gets all the W's, much more so even than Andrew. That's a phrase I was looking for, voice fry with ketchup. What drug is in Serbia? You probably mean common. I don't know. I've never taken an interest in drugs. It's just gay to me. They just sound like that. It's just the low IQ. I mean, it could be medication. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I know it's also a trend. There are simply speech patterns that become popular, especially with the youth. There's a certain way of talking that makes you part of your generation, and so on. No one talks like a surfer dude anymore, but it was a thing that happened for some reason. I felt bad for that bunny girl. I don't know who is who. She looked like she mixed coke with antidepressants. I would have felt bad, but if she is then no, I want to feel bad for her, but her voice drives me absolutely batty. That xylazine had her behaving like molasses uphill in winter. Molasses uphill in winter, that's a great one. Xanax voice. Narcoleptic, okay. Narcoleptic. Serbians snort gunpowder. That would be based. Like your tongue weighs 100 pounds. I don't know. It just looks like stroke victims to me. Crossing over the Barbie verse. Okay. I'm getting too much into the chat. I need to go back to the topic. So again, the best way to begin it after the introductions, I skipped those. It was that girl saying prostitution started in the 1800s in the United States. So well done, America. You invented prostitution. I don't know how you did it, but well done for you. Oh God. And it plays into what I'm talking about, the main topic of today. It's that you have this, as far as I'm concerned, completely misguided approach to these topics. Men and women, men should X, women should Y. That's not a chromosome joke, but damn it, it should have been. So because it sounds to me the same way, the same problems you have as a modernist, not modernist in like innovationist, but modernist and is in the literary approach and all of that, debating a postmodernist, because modernists don't stand a chance against postmodernists, which is why a lot of modernists hate him. They hate them. Jordan Peterson cannot win against postmodernism. He can just complain about it and then say, oh, look at all the bad things they're causing. Okay, but you're not refuting them. You're just saying bad things are happening because their way of thinking is becoming so popular. That's not a refutation. That's nothing approaching a refutation. So back to that a bit later. So you hear it discussed, and the Pearl woman who annoyed me. It's that she tweeted, do you really think men want to spend quality time with the women? They want sex, silence, and a sandwich. And this is why wife beating was invented, for people who say things like that. I cannot think of anything more dystopian than being in a relationship where you're just sitting there in silence. Me, as a very non-talkative person, in the light conversation department, I can talk for hours on topics. But if you try to just chat with me, it's easier to trudge through wet sand than it is to have a light conversation with me. I suppose she earns a point for alliteration. It's stupid, but Henry says, sounds like bait. That's what I thought, but irrespective of that, to promote that type of thinking, because they're going to be, that's called autism part. I am aware. I also don't like to be touched very much. It might be Asperger's. But again, I don't care if it was bait. A lot of what she says sounds like bait to me. But maybe she's just an idiot. That is a possibility we cannot, flee from. And I'm grateful that she had, Jay on, Rachel on. By the way, she is another type of way women talk that just drives me insane. But I endured it to hear the interview with Rachel, and when I think both Rachel and Jay were on another one. Motivation is money. I know it's possible, but you see, you're not misanthropic enough, unlike some of us, because you think no one is that stupid. People are much more stupid than that. So it's not that no one is that stupid. It's just that the entire your approach, your general worldview will inform how you think. And if you have a completely broken approach, this interpretive schematic, it's just going to produce horrible takes. Tristan Haggard, who goes after the Tate simps, he talks about it. These people are, oh, he's saving men from modernism, bringing them into traditionalism. He's a pimp, admitted pimp. That's how he got his money. And then they go, oh, don't hate the player, hate the game. Okay, why would you hate the fact that the Matrix is persecuting him? Don't hate the people for persecuting him. Hate the game. It's always, been completely and utterly ridiculous. But they are so focused on going against what's called the gynocentrism of society, that they don't care that in the meantime, they're supporting a pimp who has horrible takes on almost anything you can hear. I saw someone retweeted him, and he said, we men think about the Roman Empire every day, but they don't think about what they would be in a Roman Empire. I would be a military general. Sure, you would, mate. You would be a Roman general. Yes, the guy who bragged about crimes online live is going to be the brilliant tactician. He would put, Belisarius to shame. Pimp is a traditional practice sport. No, it started in the 1800s. Oh, goodness. So, yes. This is what I mean. It causes a general atmosphere of complete insanity. So the thing that makes you want to say something like that and not have it just be bait, because if it is bait, it's doing its job. She also seems like a female Benjamin to me. Spouts nonsense and then pretends like I'm just spotting patterns. No, you're not. There is no pattern that men want to be in relationships where they don't want to spend time with their girlfriends and wives, supposedly. I started saying, I'm not a talkative person. My best relationships have been when the woman is actually more talkative, because otherwise it's just going to be me sitting there and then thinking about some languages with silly scripts. You don't want that. But you see, the thing is, you want to go anti-feminist, right? You want to say, oh, feminists think X, so therefore I'm going to go for minus X. You're not even going to go for Y or whatever. You're going to go to the exact opposite of it. And that is going to create such takes. This is the issue at hand. Propositional approach, where you are going to try to categorize, oh, this is male behavior, this is female behavior, or men and women, if you want to pretend like that's not synonymous in humans. So you are going to try and create a system of categorizations and then try to fit in it, and that's just not how life works. The reason the Orthodox Church puts so much emphasis on participation, like going to church, praying, fasting, etc., is that how you live changes you. It also changes how you think. You cannot just abstract things and then implement them, because, as the saying goes, no battle plan survives first impact. Likewise, as we have seen, no shortage of ideological constructs just shattering against reality constantly. Some have limited success, etc., but ultimately the plan falls apart. The French Revolution fell apart. The Bolshevik Revolution also fell apart, and especially as I'm saying, not you had the Soviet Union for 70 years. You didn't have what it was originally envisioned to be. You just had horrors and horrors and horrors, because the system doesn't work. It has perks. It's good for a very rapid industrialization, because you can force it. You can do whatever you want. It turns out to be incredibly inefficient industry, but you have it. So I'm not saying everything is always good or bad. but it's the entire thing. Oh, workers should X, these people should Y, etc. Always abstraction. And one thing to remember is that abstraction is subtraction. It is literally the point of abstracting things, is to try and find commonalities among different individuations, and then have this outline, this basic model to try and make predictions and things like that. So, but you have to subtract, and you are not going to be in a relationship with a woman. You're going to be in a relationship with that particular person. And that particular person is going to have all types of idiosyncrasies that are going to make all of your plans, obsolete. That is why we go for the participative model in the church as well. You're going to say, oh, proposition A for God is this, God is that, and he does this, he does that, unless it is very, very well established by revelation, you are just going to end up in madness. I talked to Jim Bob recently. I want to help him prepare some arguments for Islam, because he comes across them on TikTok and stuff. And I talked to him about why the whole idea of appealing to Unitarianism as such, as some type of superior model, and you just state that it's an a priori position to hold, why that leads to many problems. Unitarianism is not logically superior to Trinitarianism, which is why the most consistent Unitarian I would consider to be Aristotle. But Aristotle is inconsistent, because you cannot limit the transcendent in that manner, because you would then put created logic above the transcendent. And that means that the transcendent doesn't transcend creation. You've made the transcendent non-transcendent. But it doesn't matter, because they think it's some type of win. And in the last interaction Jim Bob had with how many fingers am I holding up? How many fingers am I holding up? And then they admit, okay, God is not limited by logic. But how many fingers am I holding up? Rubbish. Complete rubbish. And Jay has debated, yes, well, Emmanuel, oneness, what they call Tawheed. Oneness of the transcendent is also going to be a massive problem logically. You're going to have to talk about a lot of things. To explain the oneness of God is as complex as trying to explain the Trinity, the triune nature of God. You are just lazy and say, no, a priori, it makes sense that God is one and oneness. Okay, when you have Aristotle then, and he says the creation is eternal, right? The material world is eternal, because it has to be co-eternal with God, because God has to actualize all potentialities always. So you cannot have this shift. If God does not create and then starts creating, that means there was a change in God, which means he is imperfect. So the system would break. And Jay has talked about this. I think he mentioned it in his debates, especially with Adnan Rashid, that you have these problems. So just force them into, to admit their a priori convictions. If you're going to say it's logical, okay, then how is this logical? How are you going to have a Quran that is the speech of Allah, so an attribute, which would have to be co-eternal with Allah, but not Allah? So you're going to have something that is both uncreated and created at the same time. And they try to, skip it to saying, oh, yes, the Quran is eternal, but not the written Quran. That's not the point. You're going to fall into all types of problems. And especially when dealing with people who are the Salafi types, the so-called ultra-traditionalists, which, you would think Christians would hear and think based, but Islam is not based. Islam is a rather degenerate religion. But they avoid certain degeneracies. That's good. That's we should praise people when they do something that is praiseworthy. But if you're going to be these Salafis, like these types who would not want to engage too much with philosophy, they wanted those who want to take the Quran very literally. So even like the claim Allah has two right hands, they will take that literally. Like Allah has two right hands. That is, if you are okay, if you're doing that, okay, you're going to have problems. But there's a way right hand and left hand are used, in this type of symbolism, where I think I mentioned this. I certainly have on Jim Bob streams. The word for the left-handed in Latin is sinister. You get the word sinister from it because it was believed literally in the Roman religion and in many other religions that people who are left-handed, who have a dominant left hand, are somehow defective, they're evil, etc. And we have seen, in Puritanism and certain less sophisticated forms of Protestantism, people taking that very literally. We have claims that God has a right hand and a left hand, in the sense that you have the obedient angels that are the right hand, and the disobedient are the left hand. So they're disobedient, but ultimately God uses even them in their disobedient state to achieve his goals. But that is not an option if you're going to be a literalist. It's just that somehow Allah has two right hands. Posher should ask Chase about the rakia I gave him. He mentioned it, but he hasn't given me any review. He should do a stream. Islam is not a religion; it's an IQ test. Rubbish Islam. That sounds like a Hebrew word. Are you a Warhammer nerd, Baron Strawberry? Author Eric asks Baron Strawberry. Yes, he is. And I am one as well. But he takes it a lot further and actually buys the things and paints them and stuff. I would not. I just enjoy the games and the video games and the lore. 87% of Albanians are left-handed. There's the tribe of Benjamin, which was said to be predominantly left-handed. Still not the worst tribe, though. The worst tribe is the tribe of Dan. Whoops. So keep that in mind as well. Allah with the detachable handshake from the Gag Factory. Okay. Ortho Eric, I am an ultramarine enjoyer. Thank you, Ortho Eric, for supporting the Imperium of Man. And unlike some people who support chaos, we are on the correct side. Why is Dan the worst tribe? Maybe I can do a stream on that. But in short, you will notice even in Revelation where it talks about things, they don't mention Dan, because Dan, the city of Dan, called Laish beforehand, was massacred, and God did not order that. So they just took it and named it after themselves. Bethel and Dan are the two cities in which you have the establishment of the fake Israel religion, where you have the two golden calves. So even though God explicitly ordered that only in the temple are you allowed to give sacrifices to him, but the temple was not in the northern kingdom of Israel, it was in the southern kingdom of Judah. But Dan is the northern city that perform these awful things, and they don't produce anything good. But I may do a stream on that. Very sorry I'm late. Thanks to Chris before the heads up. I've been driving and reception going in and out. Oh, it's okay. It's a solar whiteboard. That's a great name. Something on the Zenus to live. Yep. Born a lefty and switched in kindergarten. Now somewhat ambi, short for ambidextrous. My maternal grandfather was ambidextrous. I've heard that ambidextrousness is somehow linked to neurological problems, potential neurological problems, but I mean, I've never explored that further on. That's more enough to get me to the rabbit hole. Thank you, no problem, John B. But yes, it is the worst tribe. And what you may notice that even when the northern kingdom is wiped out, God gives them over to the Assyrians. I talked about how the Assyrians practiced warfare. So even if you surrender, you are still going to get displaced throughout the empire. And if you don't surrender, you will be crushed with cruelty that is almost cartoonish, almost like in Warhammer. So you will be wiped out. And they were, but we have Judah and we have remnants of the Levites and the Benjamites. St. Paul mentions that he is of the tribe of Benjamin. I have two left hands, though, Matthew, that's incredibly Islamophobic. My mother-in-law was punished in school for being a lefty in the United States. I mean, I'm not denying it. You guys invented prostitution in the 1800s, so nothing is, off the map. I was convinced that the CIA track people who are born with tribe of Dan DNA. If that's true, they cannot be all that bad. There is no way to know who is from which tribe. This is why that you don't have the priesthood anymore, but intentionally so. God, when he wiped out, well, not directly, but allowed the Romans to destroy Jerusalem and the temple. And I talked about God, not too hyped about the temple in general, especially not since it had an idol of Shemesh in front of it. God knew what he was doing. So you have no way to prove that someone's a Levite, meaning no more priesthoods, no more sacrifices, no more Mosaic law, which for all intents and purposes, because we have no revelation about that this being temporary, unless you convert, of course, to Christianity. That's what you should do if you want to become part of the new Israel, the everlasting covenant. I don't know how they would know that someone was of the tribe of Dan, especially because it was wiped out by the Assyrians. So someone far more cruel than the Babylonians. The idol of Slanesh. No, Shemesh. Was it Shemesh or was it Zedek? I think it's Shemesh. Actually, my daughter was treated like crap when she was in public school because she was a lefty. This was 2 years ago. They made her hold everything with her right hand and she couldn't meet standards. Where do you people live? I'm not asking you to dox yourselves, but where on earth does this happen? Like here, if you're a lefty, it's not always the best thing because most tools and stuff are made for right-handed people. But just another reason we homeschool. Yes, but that seems arcane, goodness. Saint Irenaeus believed that the Antichrist would come from the tribe of Dan. I would have to see that, because, again, there would be problems with defining that. It doesn't mean that there is no lineage of Dan that would still be somehow around. It's just that you would find it difficult to prove it. And I would have to know the reference, because I need to check if it's used the same way the word Amalek is used. It doesn't refer to literal Amalek, but it's sort of like saying the communist. You're like Stalin figure, So if someone can post the reference, I'd be happy to investigate and get back to you. All the female teachers in America are Miss, not Mrs. So they are just bitter, glorified daycare indoctrination facilitators. Yes, I'm not. The Southern accent needs work. Thank you. That's a very nice way of putting it. I have a friend that was forced to write with his right hand only as well. Now he can write with both, so it all evened out. Both of my wife's parents are lefty, but despite that, she is perfectly normal. Public schools in New York City, included in the early 1920s, when they thought penmanship, teachers strapped my mother's left hand to a waist to force her to write with the right hand. What sort of medieval people are we talking about? Like, I could understand if you were using some type of our languages, well, most languages, Indo-European ones at least, function writing left to right, so it is preferable to use the right hand. So unless the ink they were using was so incredibly expensive that you must not allow it to be smudged as you're writing with your left hand, I don't know what's happening. But that's Protestants are rather silly. We can't know. That is what the traditions of men would want you to think, but there's this woman that received a vision of what truly happened. The real Moses and she. Also, weed cures cancer, yes. Obligatory, praise of marijuana's healing properties. I think forcing children to be right-handed is a Protestant thing because of scripture saying, yes, things in the right hand were good and things in the left hand were bad. Speaking of sola scriptura, exactly, slow boy, whiteboard. That's what I was saying. There's a symbolism to it, and that's why it was used, and it would have been obvious to its original audience. But one of the reasons you could get this type of symbolism is, we have an example of it in the Bible, is why people who are left-handed were considered sinister, which it literally just means, as I said, left-handed, is because you were expected to carry weapons on your left. So when you were patted down to check for weapons, you would usually just check the left side because you would be using your right hand to do it. So people who were left-handed could hide weapons on the other side and use that to their advantage, to get through checks. Look, this herb is calling US barbaric. Yes, as I commented on, subtweeted, what do you call it, one of Jay's posts about he was dissing Italy, and I said it is a massive red pill to realize that Eastern Europe is the human-friendly Europe, and you are far less likely to be stabbed or mugged and whatever. It's just that you think of us all as barbarians, but we are generally chill people. However, when you go to the very culturally enriched parts of Europe, not as fun. not as fun at all. The moment Posh realizes America is still in medieval times. No, they're not even medieval. You see, they're all the way back to the antiquity, to the classical era. That's why they paint their leaders undergoing apotheosis, the apotheosis of Washington and stuff, and their government buildings are supposed to look like Roman buildings. But because of that, you have a lot of people don't know this. Nowadays, it's better known among the general public. It wasn't marble cities, as in like, just white, just glistening white cities. No, they would put a lot of paint, bright paint, on their houses. All the statues were painted. It's just that the paint deteriorates over time, and you're left with just the stone. But that's why when you had the Renaissance, as I talked about, the Renaissance literally means rebirth, and they were trying to bring back antiquity. So they were using the ancient Greco-Roman rules for the statuary and stuff, but they let them unpainted, which would not be the case. So you're trying to recreate something that was, relatively recently discovered to have been very fancifully painted. Posh, do you believe that the prophecy of Damascus turned to rubble desolate has been fulfilled? I do not have an opinion. I do not have an opinion on that. I don't know enough. Damascus famously... Oh, no, that's Antioch. Sorry, I messed up. I wanted to say something about it being the second biggest Jewish, having the second biggest Jewish population after Jerusalem. So the two giant cherubim statues from the temple were transported there as a flex. Because if there's something the Romans were good at, aside from military matters and matters of administration and architecture, it's flexing and torturing people. The Arabic M, the left hand, is called al-yasirah, the easier. This is a euphemism. I'm not sure what a euphemism for what. I know there's also like the idea like you eat with your right hand, but you wipe your bum with the left hand, and stuff like that. So awesome. I never knew hub was a bad word. I'm not sure what that means. Sorry about that. When Eastern Europeans say that's a bad neighborhood, they're actually saying your lighter will likely get stolen. Yes, but you will not get like mugged, at gunpoint or knife point. That's a rare thing to happen. We focus on war crimes. So, I know I'm behind because of buffering, but I can definitely say Eastern Europe is way better. It felt like home, except maybe Vienna is a little fancier than home. But Poland felt just like the Midwest. Posh has never bought a light. I actually buy them all the time. I don't know how they last so short. It is a genuine Sisyphean experience for me. Well, Vienna, we wouldn't call it culturally Eastern European. It's very culturally German for very obvious reasons. But, so the mentality of the people is not going to be like the surrounding nations. It's going to be more similar to German, right? But, not as, like the Protestant parts of Germany, the dead-eyed stares and horrible, horrible food. It's going to be similar to like Bavaria and stuff. But it's a different thing, and it's also very culturally enriched. So there's also another thing to bear in mind. One day I hope to retire to Prague. I don't know. The Czechs are like the Canadians of Slavic people. Like the Dutch of the Slavic people. They love their prostitutes and weed. Mustache Man was all their fault. Talking of war crimes, I finally got my hands on a book about the collapse of Yugoslavia. Will be an enjoyable read, I'm sure. Oh, it was a very fun time to grow up in. But our schnitzels and sausages are the best. I suppose Christopher Lauterman, he invented the bretzel. Is it bretzel or pretzel? But something a bit different. We've got two Germans here, I see. At least. I will retire to the mountains of Albania, only to be reached by pigeon. Okay. Based Albanian. I don't know if you use your former name, but I know who you are. That's what I'm saying. Just came back from Amsterdam and can confirm they love their weed and prostitutes. Good cheese, though. Well, I suppose. The swamp Germans. Okay, back to our topic. We've taken a small, detour. My dead name. Oh. Okay, the actual word for left hand is Sham, which also means north or Syria, because one orients oneself facing east. That is why Yemen is called Yamina, means south. Yes, that's also why the name Benjamin, means son of the south or son of righteousness, because as you said, you are facing east, so your right hand will be facing south. That's why you can translate the name Benjamin as either son of the south or son of righteousness, because it's, again, you are in the right. No, that wasn't an intentional pun. As I said, my subconscious mind just produces puns, whatever I do. Right. So, and as you said, John MC, the North is always considered a problematic place. It is. You have certain times of year liturgically where you read certain scriptures facing north, because the north is the direction of the enemy, and if you have in scriptures will say the enemy will come from the north, it is a sign that God is judging you. This is a punishment. It's not a geographic thing. And that's why, as I said, when we read the gospel, the deacon would face north, because you are proclaiming something towards the enemy, which in this case would be the demonic entities. It has its symbolism and liturgical purpose. Don't break down the name Lakeisha. I'm afraid that I can't. So my grandfather hating Yankees was based on red pilled. I can dig it. Nice. So I mentioned the annoyance with the Pearl Woman because she makes these claims that are ridiculous. At baptism, do you spit in the direction of the west or north? I actually don't know, but because a lot of times nowadays you don't actually spit inside, you walk outside and spit. Somewhere you just blow air. But it is, I spit on Satan. I'm not sure that there's a direction. It's just to spit. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Yes, moral meerkat, you spit on Satan. And if, because you're baptized as a child, it's your godfather who spits in your stead, because your godfather is supposed to be tasked with teaching you about the faith. We spit west at my baptism. Well, spitting on the west is always a good thing. So, which direction should my toilet be facing? I'm not sure. There are good arguments to be made in a couple of ways. Right. So this this approach of trying to say, and as I compared it, right, to it's a good tangent to go on when we talked about the left and right hand and how you read it. If you have a modernist reading of it, you're going to take that Puritan, not all Protestants believe this, but a lot of them do, this approach, it means being a left-handed person means you're evil, which again is a pagan thing, ironically enough, for people who claim to be free of paganism. But then you are going to be dismantled from the other side, because you cannot create a full system, a comprehensive system of men do this, women do that, and then masculinity, femininity. And I've heard so many things that to me just sound like, okay, we're going to be using synonyms, I suppose, and then say one is masculine, one is feminine. Men are protective, women are nurturing, right? As if we don't have plenty of examples, especially of mothers doing very heroic things to protect their children. So what, she was a man at that point? Was she nurturing super hard and it became that? It's nonsense. This is wordplay, but it helps you establish a dichotomy in this categorical sense. And of course, it is men and women. I'm not trying to introduce third genders or anything. But I'm saying you trying to abstract things is going to fall apart, because what I say is that women used to be more masculine than men are today. Why? Purely because they lived in completely different circumstances. When you live in a time where there's a lot of infant mortality, infant mortality rates are high, things could go wrong, very easily, which really skews, the life expectancy statistics unless you account for it. Where you're surrounded by quite a bit of death, where you would wake up very early in the morning and have to work physically, a lot of manual labor is required for everyone. You are not going to have the same results if you then also try to apply that to the modern world, because the circumstances are different. It's not about trying to say, women cook, men don't cook. Because, as I said, postmodernists will torch you on this. Postmodernists will say, okay, why is it that men grill and women, and it's masculine? It is grilling cooking. Yes, you would have to be ridiculous to say grilling isn't cooking, but it's a masculine type of cooking. Okay, so I put a steak on the grill, that's masculine. I put a steak on the frying pan, now you're a girl, right? It's rubbish. And that is how a lot of defense of tradition has fallen apart in light of these completely bogus attempts of categorization. You cannot defend it. Simply, as I said, because a lot of tradition wasn't born out of this way of thinking at all. It was born out of sheer pragmatism. Women used to cook because cooking was a craft, right? You as a young girl start learning it by helping around, around these types of chores, and you pick up what you use, how much of it you use. You don't have the convenience of just being able to buy something, in a convenience store and then have all types of measurements. A lot of it was very much, trying to guess. Two wrongs don't make a right, but three lefts do. Thank you for the $2 Charisma Mysterion. It's very much appreciated and will go into the piano fund. Real men cook outside. Let's see if you have anything to say about this so far. If you nurture super hard and wear makeup, that makes your woman die. Real men cookers. Yes, women are very tough, or they used to be. Women's work is never done. Great stamina and endurance. Yes, because the men would also be doing incredibly intense labor. But as I said, cooking isn't cooking because, I don't know, you've got a boob, so you cook. What? And it certainly wasn't easy. It was very messy. It was very smelly. You had no refrigeration. You had means of keeping things, from going rancid very quickly. You had pickling, fermenting, you've got drying, smoking, and all of these things. But it was still very messy. You had to disembowel, animals. Now, usually women would handle the poultry, men would handle the larger ones. But still, it isn't this cute little thing where we're making little cakes and writing our names on it and yada, yada, yada. Because modern cooking is very, very easy. Turn a couple of knobs, press a couple of buttons. You've got like a million things, million vessels, you can use to mix stuff in. You can wash them very easily. You've got flowing water, first of all, readily available. You've got hot water, well, almost always readily available, but it's not particularly difficult to make it available. All a man needs to know is how to make his eggs. I disagree with you, and I'll say why. The best chefs, bakers, and butchers have always been men. Traditionally, joyous Matthew. Okay, Matthew Metanoia. Okay, that's excellent. That's excellent. You would be learning this as a skill. Men would also know basic cooking because you don't know when you're going to need it. But other than that, cooking is going to be something you learn on the job. It's not something you could buy a book to read from. It's not something you can watch videos about. So you only can learn on the job. Bosch really appreciates running water. Yes, because I grew up during wartime, and often there wasn't any. So men should learn to cook. I would say I still consider it, primarily a woman's job. But that's not to say that men shouldn't cook or that cooking is feminine. That's my entire point about this. The approach of trying to create a category and then say, this is what has always been done, therefore it's feminine, is wrong. Because the practice, how it came about, was a product of practice, not a product of some calculation and abstraction. Men are going to go into the fields, men are going to go into the forest, to gather timber, men are going to go to war, or whatever. Women stay at home, so they're going to learn the things that you do at home. Food preparation in times before refrigeration was a massive thing. Most clothing for most people was produced at home, on looms and stuff. Most people couldn't afford to go and buy expensive things from tailors. I actually forgot to make my point to Matthew, right? Traditionally, tailors, bakers, butchers, these were all men, because men could own these shops, women couldn't. Somewhere they could, etc. But it was exclusively men. Famously, high heels were invented for butchers, but then it became a fashion statement. So men should know how to cook, because who else is going to teach it to the women? Good one, Yossarian. So you have a completely wrong-headed approach to why something has been done in a certain way traditionally. And if you do that, then you've got quite a few problems, because you cannot replicate things from abstraction. You abstract it and then reinstate it, actualize it again. It's going to break down, because it's not how it works. There are still places where my mother's and father's ancestors are from, where women go to the well to fetch water and the wood pile and chop and carry kindling. Yes. Why? Because men would be doing things which are even more difficult, even more demanding. But yes, traditionally you have got a lot of traditional songs, that the younger girls would sing. You don't send old women to the well, you send younger women. They would sing songs to go there, take the clean water, because there was no running water. When I set up memberships, we should have like a faucet open for an emoji. Appreciate the running water, and things like that. So I'm not saying what do you now try to reestablish that? It's silly. Those people didn't do it because it was fun, but because it was necessary. And that creates a certain mindset, because it is participative. And if you're just trying to fake, replicate these conditions, or just try to force yourself into it, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing to get the same results. That is a problem. And this is a massive mistake. Exactly, enslaved by truth. Yeah, but what about 1950s American trad lifestyle LARPing? I will address that as well. Men being gynecologists is the one thing that made me question the idea of the homemaker as a rule. What? I think I've said this already. There is no sadder person in the world than a heterosexual gynecologist. And as I said, my parents come from working in medicine, and I hear stories. And oof. My husband is by far a better cook than I, but he tries to teach me. That's wonderful to hear. Tender of chickens. Also a glorious name. I really need someone to work on my tractor. My husband is a carpenter, not particularly mechanically inclined. Well, I do love practical things, so excellent that he is a carpenter. It's a great craft to pursue. It's very practical, but also can have an incredible artistic element to it. You're telling me this water runs, in the immortal words of Nadaverse, look how flush. There's a water aid advert out showing lots of thirsty African children, then Porsche. Me being 6'1" and 240 pounds, like, you don't know how much I suffer. Patrick, you've taken the only food I ever had. Now I'm going to starve to death. Right. What was I saying? Enslaved by Truth mentioned 1950s, but I want to make the point of why I started to learn to cook. Like basic cooking. I'm not much of a gourmet. To me, food is more like a thing you do to live, but I do try to make it tasty and stuff like that. The first thing I remember why when I was in college, and I remember being alone in the apartment I was living in, and I was hungry, and I remember, oh God, I can only fry an egg, boil an egg, and make sandwiches. So I felt completely useless. That's one thing. So I looked up a couple of recipes, it didn't work too well, but at least I made some food, and then I came back home, when it was break. And I remember telling my mother, saying, I feel like an idiot and would really appreciate being taught basic traditional cooking. A slow boy whiteboard, $5 sends a super sticker. Thank you very much. I can't see it because I'm on Streamlabs. Walter Schmidt says jebote. So cursing in Serbian. Very nice, very nice. Literally the Serbian caste system. What? I missed the point. Okay. Membership tier suggestion: got a goat, running water, cooking with gas. Okay, that's a caste system. I understand now. Thank you very much. But let me light this cigarette. That was my first motivation to learn to cook. It wasn't any sense of masculine, feminine, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't, I can get, women like it when and I was like in like my early 20s, so you think, girls my age, they really like it when a guy can cook. Not motivation for me at all, because as I said, I was learning traditional cooking. You wouldn't call over like someone for a date and prepare like a meatloaf or something. Right? Alexander Solzhenitsyn says, "Esumidov." We're getting into slang now. Okay, air conditioning. Decent women like it when I cook an omelette. Thank you for spelling it correctly. But yes, that's the type of thing you can, because there's a lot of creativity around an omelette. But my second motivation was, and I think, okay, I get married, I have children. What do I do if something happens to my wife? Like, even temporarily. But the really depressing thought I had was, if she dies, are my children going to eat sandwiches and sunny side up eggs for the rest of their pre-adult life? And that thought was so completely devastating to me that I then really started trying to learn more and more, because I want them to eat proper food. So get another wife. The church is not big on that. It might be allowed, but because the church is not big on that, the saints aren't big on that, neither am I. Both and sends $5 for a super sticker. Thank you very much, both and. Based Albanian sends $20 and says Alexander the Great was from Ohio. Based Albanian, do you know that there are people in Bosnia who think that they were Muslim or like the whatever, I suppose they would still call it Islam, like the pre-Muhammadan Islam, because the true religion was brought to Bosnia by Alexander the Great. So then the Christians came and ruined everything, and now the Turks brought back the ancestral faith. I love the fact that Dhul Qarnayn, Alexander the Great, is considered like a prophet of Allah. Posh is married and has kids. Not yet. We're working on it. You people are making me rich, so I can do it. But as I was saying, also, Eric, this was years ago when I was thinking this, and I'm always the optimistic type, Very, very, very grand of me. Yes, and Constantine was from Fort Worth, Texas. Maybe generous enough to pay off your gambling debts. No. Like rooster fights. I'm not using the other word. No, again, I've never felt the need to gamble. My vices are few, but I have to contend with them a lot more. It tends to concentrate, like with alcohol. Although, as you see, I've toned it down and plan on toning it down even further. So I'm working on it, and if you keep me in your prayers, I'd also very much appreciate it. ZM says Bosnia is special. Who was I talking to? Was it, yes, Baron Strawberry? He told me that there's a part of Ireland where they use the stupid people jokes, and for us here in the Balkans, in the Western Balkans, so-called, where we all speak in a way we can understand each other, the Bosnians are considered like what the Polish would be in the broader English-speaking world. Although in England, I suppose it's more American. Like Polish people are dumb and stuff. I think he explained to me that the English use the Irish for that. I can't remember which part of Ireland though. So Author X sends $2 and says towards the purchase of a wife. Oh goodness! I thought Eastern Europe was where people bought wives from. He's already there with the stock. Sure, Basil Albanian could tell you about the practice in his country of origin. But you have those you get from Eastern Europe, and I would, unless you want a big guy called Igor to just drop by soon enough, and he happens to be 6'5" and as broad as he is tall, and carries a certain firearm, I wouldn't suggest it. Petra Garda says more goes for the goat throne. Yes, another Warhammer nerd. Warhammer nerds unite. So thank you, Petra Garda. D Simpsons, £10, and says this is the payment for your mortgage. Thank me later. Okay, thank you. I keep getting more and more into the problems of, gambling debts, mortgages, etc. I'm just an alcoholic. What do you want from me? Okay. Basil Albanian says, we traffic, we don't sell to Americans. Based. And traffic built. Oh, goodness. Right. We were talking about, yes, the thought of you going to, losing your wife, or even if she just gets sick, breaks a hand, breaks a leg or something, it happens. What do you do then? Like, you then take over from what is already a thing, because I would agree with Rachel's points, and others have made this point as well, that you don't want the entire mutual submission thing is as upsetting hierarchy. It is anti-hierarchical, and I reject it. It's not biblical. It's not Christian. We've got a super chat from Misinformation, who did not get that nickname from South Park, sends in 20 USD and says, for the goats, or the piano playing goats. Yes. Thank you very much, Misinformation. I literally can't wait to get a piano again. I really miss being able to listen to things and play it. As I said, I really like put on one headphone, earphone, whatever, and listening to like a podcast or a lecture or something, and then practicing songs. So yes, thank you very much, all of you, for contributing to that dream. I wonder if cigarettes are as expensive for you, Posh, as they are for me. Yes, we have this program of needing to align our standards for these excise taxes on alcohol and cigarettes with the European Union, but without the European Union, paychecks. So it's rubbish. So I'm also working on stopping. But as I said, I don't have a gambling problem. I don't care about spending money. I've never courted luxury. But I have alcohol and I've got cigarettes. So very, very concentrated on those. So you're saying you have to learn to cook in case the wife runs her mouth. Exactly, hoodly daddle. Aleksander Solzhenitsyn says Kosovo is Serbia. Jeste. I biće. Okay, RON. What is RON? Ron. Can't be rubles. Damn it. By the way, congratulations on Kosovo losing to Romania. Well, Albanians, even from Albania, never actually show a lot of expertise in sports, because crime takes all of the time of the day. We return our empty cartons for a quarter of a euro on our next purchase. It covers the tax. That's awesome. Dinar. Which dinar was there? Okay, it's Romanian money. I'm in the south of Serbia, so we don't get to. Although people used to go back in the day, go to Romania to buy things in bulk because it was much cheaper. Gypsy money. Okay. Right. Back to cleaning. Gypsy, goodness. So that is why I mentioned mutual submission. No, the man is the head of the household. That and mutual submission is rubbish, and it's one of those. It's like saying, the trolley problem or any particular trolley problem. Saying, well, I wouldn't pick either. Well, good for you, mate. Good for you. But when I go into debate Christological, I fear that I wouldn't stand a chance. I'd be destroyed with facts, logic, and empathy. Maybe we can do something like a skit. I'll have to talk to Jim Bob about it. A lot of people in the UK are converting because they marry Romanian women. Oh. Are they trying to get robbed? Once they get all the copper in your house, then you're done. I'm a Serb living in Romania. I believe you mentioned that at some point, or you mentioned maybe it was Yasarian who mentioned having at least some Serbian genetics. Posh invading TikTok. I would rather stab myself repeatedly in the spleen with a rusty screwdriver, Petrograd. So that is not something that will be happening. Converting to what? Well, Emmanuel, it is implied because they're Romanian women that it's orthodoxy. Because even a lot of people here, even if they're not particularly religious, they follow the motions. They want to get married in the church and stuff. So mutual submission is rubbish, but mutual service is not rubbish. Why? Because one thing that is so emphasized in Christianity is that you having a higher position is a gift from God, and you will be held to a higher standard, and you're supposed to image God from that position. That is your duty. That is how you will be judged, according to how much God gave you. You're supposed to, as I keep alluding to, it's one of the most important parables in the New Testament, if you ask me. Giving the talents to the servants when the master is going away, and then when he comes back, he expects you to double it. No matter how much or how little, you're expected to double it. And that is why when we talk about a position of authority, be it secular authority, be it ecclesiastical authority, be it familial authority, you are expected to, in a Christ-like manner, serve everyone who is under you. That goes for the emperor, that goes for your bishop, that goes for the patriarch of the church, that goes for your priest within his parish. You are called, like Christ says, he came to serve. Why? For this exact reason. He is showing you, he is the perfect man, the theanthropos, right? The God man. He is the perfect man. And that man is also like a human being, right? Human nature is completely, completes its theosis with the incarnation of Christ. So we don't see this idea of authority as something to gloat with, but it also means, yes, you do actually have the authority. The emperor should rule in a way that is Christ-like, that is to the benefit of the flock of his brothers and sisters in Christ. But he is the emperor. It doesn't mean that he shouldn't wear regalia. It doesn't mean that he should, go and like volunteer in a soup kitchen. What? The emperor can do so much more because he has been given so much more. And that is a crucial thing to remember. It's not lording over, I am the man, I have the authority. That is usurping your position as a servant of Christ. Taking credit for something that has been given to you. As Christ says to Pontius Pilate, he says, you wouldn't have your authority unless it had it not been granted to you by my Father. Right? This is the way to think about things. The fact that the man is the head of the household does not mean he just goes around slapping people. It may turn out that way, but it may turn out that way even if you're a simp. A lot of simps tend to go over a certain threshold and snap and do all sorts of vile things. So just to read a few comments. Work call Inc. Keep up the great work, Posh. Thank you, Petra Garde. Talk to you soon. We have an Romania-Albanian war going on in the chat. And I will be the Switzerland of this war. Just enjoy the carnage. Hello, Woodfloor Alchemist. Grow Your Own sends in £6 and says, thank you for all you've done this year, Posh. It has been fun and informative. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support. Tomorrow we have some basic work to do to set up like, I don't know what's called, like a roof thing above the boiler room. Until today, it was just an improvised thing since all the work we've been doing. And that's the end of the house renovation for this year. And I can actually focus on producing content. So there will be a lot more content. Okay. All authority comes is appointed from God. Romans 13 goes into details. Yes. So it is a clear Orthodox teaching that the more you're given, the more shall be asked of you. So people who want to treat it as this pagan understanding, like you're not like the head of your household, you're like a mini god emperor figure. And I mean like in the pagan sense of like a god emperor or a god king. You might as well be spitting in the face of Christ. And as St. Paul says, he says women, submit to your husbands with joy. The important thing there is, I talked about it. It was because in the Greco-Roman world, like in some parts of the Islamic world, you can just divorce your wife and throw her out. And I said Islam is feminist compared to the Greco-Roman view of women. So they would be basically left to beg or to prostitute themselves. That's about it. That's why he says with joy. He's not saying you will submit and you'll like it as some type of threat behind it. No, he's saying this is no longer how we do things. So that's one thing. But then he says, and husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Now, I'm pretty sure if someone, Rachel isn't here, but maybe she is. Last time she was driving, so she couldn't write in very much, at least. If you can tell the Pearl woman, saying, does St. Paul mean that Christ wants sex, silence, and sandwiches from the church? Because I'm pretty sure Christ didn't take that particular approach. And one thing that keeps annoying me, and I've emphasized the dangers of this, that people tend to treat a lot of apologetic points as like a safe, what do you call it, like a safety rope, or so they don't have to defend like against nihilism or moral relativism. So oh yes, I believe in God. That's why I can make ethical claims, because I ground them in God. But no, that's not enough. You need to have that play out. Our theology is meant to be lived, not just thought about. That's not how Christians should operate at all. What do you think of the Muslims that are living in Novi Pazar? Haven't had many problems with them. We sort of keep distance from each other, as it should be. I don't taste any joy in my pancakes, woman. I'm telling God about this. Exactly. G Mal sends in 10 USD and doesn't say anything. Our favorite type of super chat over here at the Posh Redneck channel. Well, good day, sir. This was so glorious. Right. As I was saying, you can't use it as this safety rope or safety line, whatever. I don't know why I'm freaking out about the phraseology. But then go back to some type of a lifeline. Yes, first person Q. All can work, but then go back to some type of, evolution has equipped us to blah blah blah, yada yada yada. No. Why are you going back to evolution? And then another thing that annoys me is like people, what I like to call appeal to the depth of the bones fallacy. Right? You say, well, deep inside your bones, you know that X is true. You're just denying it. Okay, thank you, Sigmund Freud, who believes in God, right? If you're going to have your entire approach just having this lifeline, I believe in God, yeah, the Bible, that's all great, and then base all of your arguments on like an atheist would, but pretend that you are not being hypocritical, unlike the atheists, you are going to, again, make the mistakes that all modernists do. You're creating attempting to create a comprehensive mode of comport that one can subscribe to, and just it's going to click in because you have it's in the nature of this, and it's in the nature of man to be horny, so it's okay for a man to be a philanderer or whatever. No, that's rubbish. And this is why I say it's participative. When you're going to, of course, when you first meet someone you might want to consider for, getting to know for the purposes of marriage and things like that, of course you're going to approach it from a more abstract point. You can't, just, I don't know, absorb knowledge about them. So you're going to go and see if there are any red flags and there are green flags. That's all fine. That's not my problem. My problem is trying to create a comprehensive system, which is not going to work because human beings, although we all have a human nature, we are all different hypostases. We're all different human beings with our idiosyncrasies, certain gifts from God, certain restrictions that are also given from God for our own benefit. But there is no you, there is no that person, as in like self-referencing. I need to be true to myself, as if there is no transformation, which there is none. You either go towards theosis or anti-theosis, demonosis, whatever you wish to call it. So you're not interacting with a constant, you're interacting with a variable. And that is why this isn't, again, spiritual advice. This is just why I think this approach doesn't work and why you need to get to know people. But when the Bible talks about knowing your spouse and knowing God, it's not a matter of gathering information, because the information can also change. Jim Bob and Megan were more hippy dippy people, and then they changed. But did they become, different hypostases? No. But they are trending in a certain direction. I would say a positive one, right? Some progressive might disagree, but I take that as a W. So if you reject the idea that people are a constant, then you can understand why why the participative approach is important, and always towards God. D-Sim says towards God. It should all be towards God, but not in, again, an abstract sense. It's a godly thing to have to love your wife, or women to love their husbands, and to love your children and your neighbor. The scriptures say the man who hates another man but says he loves God is a liar. That's because the value of either a man or a woman does not come from reproductive ability or lack thereof, or strength, or looks, or how good your facial hair looks, because then I'd be buggered. It comes from being made in the image of God. And men and women are both made in the image of God. And to the extent that you are imaging God is how much you are fulfilling your purpose, your telos. It's not like you should go to like a woman and say, oh, we should get married for the glory of God or something, because then you're just turning things into slogans, I believe. No, you should get married because it's a good and godly thing that God gave us, marriage. God gave us, including, conjugal relations and things like that. The moment you try to go legalistic about it, as I said, no battle plan survives first impact. It's going to fall apart. You will realize that you're not interacting with an abstraction, you're interacting with a human being. And sometimes it's better not to interact with that particular human being, right? Either for, cast not pearls before swine. I don't think that phrase should be used too readily. We should be rather careful about using it, because it's very easy to get pride involved in that type of thinking. Sometimes people are just not compatible. That is also a reality. But stop the abstraction, stop the modernism, embrace the idea of treating another person as another human being made in the image of God. and then you can start to shift your way of thinking away from ideology and closer to what the Orthodox Church says and teaches, the Church of Christ. If you forget that, the moment ideology seeps in is the moment you are poisoning the well of wisdom that is the teachings of the saints and the scriptures, etc. So I hope that's helpful. I can answer a few questions. I'm not having people on tonight. As I said, I still need to take a shower because, as I said, I'm properly smoked. I ate a lot of smoke from the scrap wood that I'm burning. Hopefully I can stop tomorrow. And things like that. I'm starting to notice I say "and things like that" a lot. It's going to be my clean your room, bucko. Does anyone else think that Meg Bob is cheating on Jim Bob with Crystal? I hope not. Hate a spiritual murder? Yes. And it is also giving the demons a win, and you don't want to give demons a win. John 3, whoever hates his brother is a murderer, and you know that no murderer has eternal life abiding in him. Exactly. Because you're splitting yourself away from God. And we struggle not against flesh and blood, but the powers and principalities of the air. So we're dealing with spiritual entities. We're dealing with demons who manage to trick not just other people, they trick us quite often. It doesn't seem that that's difficult. But when you start hating people, you are basically, you think you're doing a godly thing to hate a sinner. No, you're basically allowing a double win for the demons. That is beautiful, Posh. I think people forget they are made in God's image. I didn't know that for a long time. I understand, Liz. It's very easy to forget. I forget it all the time. I get angry. I'm a curmudgeon. I'm a curmudgeon's curmudgeon. So I understand. Command Z Radical Undoing. Hello, Garrett. It says, cheers, Posh. Happy to see you streaming. Yes, we'll think of. We have talked about doing a stream soon, Garrett, so that will be fun. Is theosis the Orthodox word for sanctification used in Scripture, as in the lifelong works of the Holy Spirit to make us holy? Sort of. The reason there is also the term deification, which would be etymologically a closer thing, but basically becoming a saint, right? Sanctification, becoming more like God, theosis, is how you become a saint, how you can be in his presence, because you're filled with his grace. It's not exactly like you can do a one-to-one correspondence, but it's basically the same thing. It might be a bit more sanctification might be a bit more of a surface term as compared to theosis. Did I get it? 1, we have different gifts. 2, the particular physical traits are not what define our roles as men and women. Miss the answer on what does. No, I didn't say particular physical traits are not what define our roles. I said particular physical traits are not what gives you value as a human being. Being made in the image of God is what gives us value. Physical traits are not ignorable or unimportant in the more practical sense. I'm saying you don't want to try and secularize the idea of what gives people value. But our roles are in large part defined by our physical person. Yes. Can we hate Satan? No. Again, that's giving him a win. You don't want to have these thoughts that are ultimately demonic abide in you, because they will poison you, and you're giving him a win. That's not a good thing. I saw your name change to Metanoia, and I wonder what kind of repentance. Protestants advocating. Yes, it's a good term, metanoia. Matthew, we're trying to commandeer theists for a Protestant stance. It won't work. Well, slow whiteboard, Methodists sort of have an idea of theosis, so it's not that it's not present. It's just that there are other things that that render it inconsistent with Protestant thinking in general. The stream doesn't cut. It's still the internet. I don't know what I do. Can I hate hatred? Yep. It's a very human thing. I mean, I know you're joking, obviously, but when, are you sure we can't get divorced? When the disciples listened to Jesus. But then the submit part is then to follow God's command and not cause some physical traits. But the submit part is then to follow God's command and not cause some physical traits. I'm not sure what you mean, and cause some physical traits. The question is unclear to me, well, Emmanuel. Okay. I grew up Methodist, so you don't have to tell me. Okay. But on the other hand, they have a female pastor and a pride flag hanging up now. So, yes. I didn't know you grew up Methodist. I was trying to emphasize the fact that the concept is not foreign, just doesn't fit well. Corey Fisher, when Paul says be angry and sin not, is he referring to the true use of anger being towards sin for the sake of repentance? Yes, it's not like you can't get angry. It's sometimes even despondency can be a proper response. It's just that it's okay. It's not like be angry, like it's good to be angry, let's say. Like it's a commendable thing. Because we know from the martyrs they're not angry. You say, okay, be angry, but sin not. It's more of that angle, right? It's not a command to get angry. It's that, okay, but don't sin, don't make it worse. Okay, not because. Damn it, well, Emmanuel, I need clarity. That's not to say, as I said, Saint Stephen, the proto-martyr, what does he say? He says, forgive them, Lord, for they do not know what they do. He is saying the same thing Christ says, right? He's not standing there, fuming with anger, because he knows, as we ponder, as we properly dwell on the idea that that people are by demonic influences bent into certain shapes and behavioral patterns, and that hatred again is prohibited for the sake of spiritual health, right? Not just to be some hippie git and pretend like you're Zen or something. No, we are asked to be joyful. Saint Ignatius of Antioch went into the arena to be eaten by lions joyfully. So, yeah. Okay, well, Emmanuel says, I mean that the justification for submission is not some physical trait, but a command from God, or is there another reason? God set things up in a manner that men are put in these leadership roles. But we don't derive the idea that men are in leadership roles from analyzing physical traits, right? Men are bigger, therefore, men big, men order around. It is the way God set up the order. The way order is set up is because we need to be healed, right? And we had disobedience of Eve, the lacklusterness of Adam as a response, and that's a failure. The cogs are being broken. But yes, we follow things because they're revealed and not through natural theology. The Jolly Lama says, "Hello, Mr. Posh. My neighbor from Serbia gave me a bottle of brandy. Looks like Stara Rakia. Beltaina, 44% ABV. Are you familiar with this?" No, I'm not. I don't drink store-bought bought rakia. Basically, no one here does. It's mostly for export because you can't export like the homemade one. That's not particularly legal. Yes, 44%. That's about the average. Goodness. The average strength. I don't know what it's called. Old rakia, yes, stara rakia. That's what it means. But Taina means secret. In fact, it also means sacrament. The sacraments of the church are tajne crkve. That's what the word, what we call them, mysteries, right? They're secrets because we can't fully grasp them. But that bell doesn't help me out a lot. It's just like you can't listen, Matthew. Why? The slow boy metanoia means a change of mind, and my issue with orthodoxy is the same with Catholics and most Protestants who believe in salvation by works. It's a self-righteous Pharisaic view. We'll be getting there when I do episode 2 of Solus Lector, when we talk about the word faith, works, and things. I'm just working on a proper presentation on that, and as I said, I've been busy. We'll talk about it. Manastir Kovilj brandy is great. I haven't tried it. Kovilj is awesome. Our current patriarch was the abbot of Kovilj for a while. Really started working on a lot of things there and started, getting the monks to learn to sing properly, so you can find a lot of chants from Kovilj. First person Q for $2 says harpsichord fans. Thank you. I do like the harpsichord. Yes. So we'll be closing out soon, so I can get a proper shower, for goodness sake. I feel horrible. So if anyone's got a question, ask now. I'll give it at least 10 more minutes. Don't want to end up, like last time I was leaving for half an hour, if not longer. First person who you can swoon a wife. I haven't tried it yet. Okay, that was cool to hear how you pronounced that stuff from my gibberish. I don't know. You get these pronunciations. Yes, I know exactly, because in school we were taught both the Cyrillic and the Latin script, and we have a very specific Cyrillic script among the Cyrillic script using Slavic peoples, because we had in the mid-19th century a reformation in the way we write, which made things a lot more simple and allowed us to have it. So it was confusing, to find out how others like Bulgarians and Russians and Ukrainians wrote. It sounds so illogical to us. It's mostly Western Orthodox LARPers that are completely Pharisaic. Watch some J videos, and now they're the king of Christianity. People can get overzealous, I understand, Matthew. But we shan't be starting that topic now. As I said, I'll do part 2 of Solus Lector. Posh, do you have the issue with your church of some people confusing Serbian culture with Orthodoxy? In my local church, there are Greeks who perceive Orthodoxy as an extension of their earthly culture. Yes, it can become a problem. Is a flock of harpsichords a harpsichoir? Asking the real questions. Was it related to Pushkin's modernization of Church Slavonic into Russian? No. It is a very South Slavic thing. It basically created a couple of new letters by combining certain symbols that are used, like the hard sign and the soft sign, which are used. If there's no hard sign, because you don't need it anymore, you're not going to treat the soft vowel in front of it as palatalizing, and the soft symbol is basically melded into the letter before it for where it would work and cause phonetic changes. So much easier, very easy to learn to read Serbian Cyrillic. Incredibly easy. Like 30 letters, all of them have the same phonetic value, not the same phonetic value, but always have the same phonetic value, as in consistently. So I can teach people to read Serbian in like 2 hours. It will cause a bit of problems, like what you would think of a B is actually a V, and a B is a different letter. An I looks like an inverted, N, and H is an N. So there are those things that you might be used to it, but it's very easy to learn to read. We flex about it. Did I miss the thing? Oh yes, Corey Fisher asked about getting to attach, especially with the diaspora, Corey Fisher, because they feel like the parish church is like the connection to the homeland. But philitism is a grave sin. So if you go to Greece, it's not that much, because they have all the other expressions of Greek culture around you. So it's not like the church is this lifeline back to the fatherland. I don't know. Not a lot of people talk to me about their experiences in the Serbian church abroad, but we as Serbs tend to be, we have culturally a huge emphasis on being a good host, or on being welcoming. And people like Baron Strawberry goes every so often to a Serbian parish, and they have been, I understand, very hospitable to him, and he plays, I can't remember which sport, there's something ball that they play. Yes. What do you think of Spangler's idea of biospirit? A lot of neo-pagans claim their religion is in their people's blood, and it's based, but then how come all these countries are super gay now? Yes, that's certainly something I use, a line of argumentation I use, DSIMs. It's also the fact that you cannot define the purity of it, the purity of the blood. You don't know who is mixed, how much they're mixed, and why is there a lack of consistency? I don't deny, for example, that you're going to have certain changes, but with certain, let's say, a basis that is biological, but I don't think it's that strong. Father Turbo is in the Serbian church. Yes, I am aware of that. Very based. Laku noć, Gvozdene. Just to give an example, good night. That Laku noć, as you can see, see that final letter, you're not going to find it in non-Serbian Cyrillic scripts. It's a ch, and a similar sound is produced in other Slavic languages when you have a T that is followed by a soft vowel or a soft sign. Yes, but pagans are just ridiculous. There's a pagan religion, just not any living pagan traditions, maybe in Lithuania and Estonia, but they're hardly relevant when it comes to neo-pagan discussions. I'm not sure even how paganism is a way of life, as Christianity should be. It's not about believing, oh, I believe there's like a spirit of like an old tree, and therefore I'm a pagan. No, a lot more goes with it. It's like a very non-committal form of paganism. Many first and second generation American, Eastern Europeans have that hospitality bone, usually overwhelming to many of the PNW Americans. What's a PNW American? Let me try and figure that out. Pre-New World Americans. Oh, Pacific Northwest. I thought you were going at the Native Americans. She also said Mormonism is acceptable because her son is a Mormon, so yes, she's biased. What? What did I miss? How is Mormonism acceptable? Is the Bible the Orthodox Church uses different than the Catholic Bible? Slightly, yes. Can't go into it now, sorry. I'm closing out. Welcome back, Serbian God. Let's not get too complimentary. Father Serbo was in the UK a couple of weeks ago. Still need to visit the local Serbian church. I definitely suggest it, D-Sims. Yes, I suppose the Pacific Northwest is like the properly English part. You know, Italians are also very hospitable, so, you know, New York is not going to be that overwhelmed. But in northern countries that became, you know, Lutheran, you're going to, the hospitality sort of died out. I'm not saying everywhere or completely. I'm not saying, it's just not emphasized. It became very individualized. And I mentioned the thing, you know, where it's not a normal thing to have, you know, if your child has a friend over and it's dinner time, you know, the child like waits in the room while the people eat like that. Like here, you throw food at people who come over, and it can even be an insult to not accept it. Yeah, they're nothing like the BMW Americans. The German Americans, I suppose. Still better than Tesla Americans. Are the Tesla Americans African Americans? That's the real question. Go for the liturgy, stay for the cake. The hospitality is why priests get fat. You can't imagine how true that is. Like you visit like 5 houses and you've eaten for a week. Any debates, appearances coming up for you? No, there was supposed to be a debate on the Crucible with some fellow who I think he believed the Christ isn't God, which is like, okay. He wanted to debate the nature of angels and the name Yahweh. So, but nothing came of it. Almost happened, but then I couldn't do it on that day, and Andrew hasn't mentioned it since. Maybe the guy backed out. But not that I know. Oh yes, appearances. I will be in the near future on DPH's channel. We were talking about it quite a bit ago, but then I had the whole house renovation thing, so that put a couple of sticks in the cogs. But now we're going to figure something out for like the next week or the one after. I'm not sure yet. You will be informed timely. If you get served cake during liturgy, it's because someone died. That's not something we do here. I've heard of things like that, but it's not something I've seen happen here. I'm not sure. Again, specific traditions are different in certain places. Like if you've served cake during liturgy, We do that in Romania, called Liva. That's in the Greek churches. Yes, I've also heard like some type of pita bread being used in Greek churches. Again, we don't have that. You shouldn't eat before you take communion. So, yes. In Romania, both kids were handed fruits, sweets, and toys during the liturgy. Okay. So I don't understand. Like, do you eat it before communion or afterwards? Because there's still liturgy after communion. It's not cake, but it's delicious. I understand. But again, so after communion, then you can eat other things after. Okay, good. that was the part that was confusing me. They do not eat it during. Okay, so it's just handed out. Okay. On the way out. Okay, yes. So, like, in addition to the naphora bread. Posh, is it okay to walk out of liturgy because it's finished? Do oxen need to be in a ditch? You shouldn't walk out. You shouldn't treat it as like a day job. Like, well, I've finished my quota. You can walk out, if a lot of people with children, they get fussy, they will step outside. If something happens, it's okay. Talk to a priest about it and try to explain. Do oxen need to be in a ditch? Yes, things happen and people need to react. But you shouldn't unless it's something very important. Koljevo slavsko žito. Yes, but it's not a cake. Or cake-like. It's like more like a porridge consistency and things like that. Okay. Yes. So we will, as I said, unless someone already picked the time slot on Saturday, we will be doing a debate review of the Aaron Ra versus David Wood. So it's wheat. I understand, like wheat cakes and things like that. But that is our plan and program for Saturday. If not, we're back on Tuesday. But, as I said, I don't want to steal someone's time slot because it's out of the ordinary for me. And that would be it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for contributing to the piano fund. And as I said, that Matthew Metanoia sends in $10. Says, good stream. God bless. God bless you as well. I will be addressing the words that are important, as I said, in Solus Lector 2. So that's going to be fun. I hope then you will understand why we take the position we stand. Any thoughts, as brief as it may be, on the DW and RAW debate, not to make you spoil anything? No, it's just that I'm going to emphasize why that type of approach, even the arguments are excellent, but not you don't press enough, and you let people take the impression, as unjustified as it may be, that like he was winning because he was constantly pressing him, as if you need to show things experimentally, when David was arguing from the impossibility of the contrary. So yes. All right, everyone. I'll be taking my leave now. I need to take a shower, need to get to bed and finish the bloody work tomorrow so I can finally have some peace of mind. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the contributions. And God willing, we'll be seeing you on Saturday. Thank you and God bless.